members of the Bond Room Unlocked, and Vicky, how do you do?
Thank you, Philip, and hello there, Vicky here, and welcome to the special Moonraker edition of the Bond Room Unlocked. Now, fans across the community have eagerly awaited this fantastic publication, Moonraker, science fiction or science fact. And this has been constructed by a group of avid Moonraker enthusiasts in conjunction with MI6 Confidential. And today we are going to hear about the process of putting this together from one of those involved, Philip Latchford, who also runs the daily Moonraker Facebook group. So sit back, relax with a cup of tea and a cucumber sandwich as we blast off with Moonraker. Now, this project is very much a labour of love and collaboration project. So Philip, how did this idea come about?
Well, the project first came about I'd say about 2 years ago, and I'm not actually responsible for the project itself, but there's a collector called Thomas Nixdorf who's got a very extensive archive, Bond archive, and one of the things that he'd acquired was the archive from one Eric Burgess. Now, Eric Burgess was the science advisor on Moonraker, and he's the one who checked everything. I mean, the archive is absolutely fantastic, the amount of detail he went into. And there's some amazing material on there. There was call sheets, there was his notes, there was letters, there was photographs from the sets, which had never been seen before. And Thomas had the idea that he wanted to publish his archive. So he approached MI6 Confidential magazine and a guy called Vip Patel, who ended up being the writer of the publication, and it sort of grew from there.
Now, me knowing you and how enthusiastic you are about Moonraker, this must have been like a dream come true. So, okay, what was your role within that project?
How I got involved in the project was I found out from Thomas's Facebook page that he was involved in a publication. I'd also found out from another collector, Alan Stevenson, that he was also involved in the publication. And I thought, well, I'd like to be part of this. And so I managed to get put in contact with Vip. And I sent him a copy of the B11 timeline. Now, if you don't know what the B11 timeline is, it's a complete timeline of the production of Moonraker, right from the inception, when the early scripts, right through to the premiere, and then afterwards it's all the regional premieres around the world. So I sent him a copy of that, or the version that was then. And he got back in contact with me, and over the next 18 months, we were sort of exchanging on a WhatsApp group, and he would send me and Alan and the other people involved a little piece of text to sort of check through, and we were constantly checking it, fact checking it, see if it was correct. So I'd like to think my role in it was as a Moonraker consultant. At the back of the publication, there is actually a complete copy of the timeline, not in as much detail as the one that I've actually produced, but that's actually a PDF file of about 50 pages, but that's for another time. But on the back pages of the publication is a copy of the timeline, right from the start to the end of the production. And that's probably the biggest contribution I've had to it.
Did you experience any difficulties or unexpected surprises when piecing together the timeline?
Well, that's a good question. As far as I know, it's about the whole timeline is about 95% accurate. There are some gaps in the production. For instance, one of the things I've not been able to locate is all the scenes they filmed in California with a helicopter going to the Drax estate. That's one thing we've not been able to locate. There are also some other smaller scenes along the way, which I've not been able to find out. But because of the fact, for some reason, there seems to be a lot of call sheets available for Moonraker. A number of the collectors have managed to collect great big bunches of them. It's meant that you can get quite a big chunk of the production of that film actually documented. I mean, I was quite surprised. One of the surprising things is just how much material is out there if you look for it. I also found, because people knew I was involved in chronicling this film, people would send me things, and that was quite nice as well. I mean, there's some things that I've been sent that I've not been able to publish either on the Facebook group or send to the publication. I think one of the biggest surprises that I've experienced in this whole production is actually the role of Eric Burgess himself, and what a lovely man he was. I mean, if you look into his history, he was a very early space pioneer in the UK. He was very interested in rocketry, wrote books about it. His biggest claim to fame is he came up with the idea of the message that's on the Pioneer space probes that's gone out into deep space. So his legacy will outlive the whole of humanity, which I think is absolutely incredible. But he's got very detailed notes on everything from when you should hear certain noises to do with certain rockets, or pictures that are on a wall, or one of the lovely things that I've discovered in his archive is a thank you letter from someone who he took on a set visit to Pinewood in January 1979, and that set visit is actually chronicled in this book here. And in the thank you letter, they emphasise the fact that the book itself is aimed at a teenage audience, a young teenage audience, which was pretty much where I was when I bought this in Christmas 1979. But it's the archive from the man himself is absolutely wonderful. He really bought into this project. He was loving it. In fact, one of the things in one of his letters, he was actually a little bit disappointed that they didn't go full on with some of the sequences, and there was a lot that didn't actually end up in the final film. There's like a space buggy and a space dart and all this sort of thing, but that didn't end up in the final film. But his whole involvement in this project is what I found one of the most fascinating and unexpected discoveries. One of the other discoveries that I really enjoyed finding was the revelation that the cable car station that was set in Rio was actually filmed at Pinewood Studios. And in the production, in the publication, which I've got just here, there's actually some pictures of the set being built, and actually some of the pictures of the stunt performers running away from the wreckage as well. So that was a nice little find. Never thought that would be found, and we've managed to find a shooting schedule with that on as well. And I think it's one of the last things they filmed in Moonraker with the actors, and they actually had Richard Keel and Blanche Revelec on set in Pinewood. And that's the only part of the film where any of the main cast, is actually filmed in the UK, because everything else was filmed France, Florida, and Rio, and Iguazu Falls, and Venice.
Now, like the film, my favourite part of this publication is the cable car sequence. I absolutely love a cable car, and if I come across one on my travels, I will certainly ride it. And this is so interesting, the fact that this was not filmed in Rio, and it was a projection image, and the modelling. I mean, if as a collector, if I could get my hands on a model like that, why don't they release things like this, to collectors rather than, the usual things? This is fantastic. Do you have a favourite part of the publication, Philip?
My favourite part of the publication is the sequence on the space battle, which was filmed on the 007 stage at Pinewood. And when I first saw some of the behind-the-scenes photographs of that, when you could identify the stuntmen, it was absolutely mind-blowing. It was some of the best behind-the-scenes pictures I think I'd ever seen. There's a couple of pictures of the stunt performers with the helmets off. That's quite impressive. There's also some pictures of the shuttle as well. They built a full-scale replica of the shuttle. And what I didn't realise was there's little inserts in the film where the retro rockets fire from the nose of the shuttle. That was actually filmed on the Pinewood 007 stage with the full-size shuttle. What's nice as well is with that sequence, got a little interview with Paul Weston, who I've met on a couple of occasions. I didn't do the interview; it was Vip that did that. But there's some nice background information about that sequence. It's one of my favourite parts of the film, and just finding out the extra information about it, which I don't think was about before this publication came into being. But that's my favourite part of the production.
Fantastic stuff. And what's going to happen in the future for the Facebook group, The Daily Moonraker? Do you have any further collaborations or any future plans that you can share with us?
As for the future of the Daily Moonraker Facebook group, well, there's going to be a lot of new posts that are new to the group. Since I do the timeline, I seem to repeat it every year. New information comes forward, and a lot of the new posts are going to be about the model work, because obviously being part of this publication, I've managed to see lots of call sheets, and so there's going to be a lot more emphasis on the model work. Not got so many pictures of the making of, but knowing about when certain scenes were filmed. Like, for instance, we've got the circus tent, when that was filmed, when they filmed that. The Drax estate, the Drax Science Complex. That's one of the things that we've managed to locate. That when the Boeing 747 blows up. So there's a lot of new posts, new bits of the timeline. One of the things that we found out as well is that the production actually went on a day longer than the previous call sheets had suggested, which was quite nice. Other things that are coming up in the new year, this is a dream. I'd love to go back to Florida, and hopefully I will do. And if I do go to Florida this time, I'm going to go to where they filmed several of the sequences in Moonraker. In fact, there are two locations that are featured in Moonraker. Not Kennedy Space Center. That was not featured in the film, despite what you might read elsewhere. But two locations, and I certainly would like to visit those.
So exciting times ahead. Well, that's it for this episode, but let's just hear a final word from Philip.
Anyway, thank you, Vicky, for giving me this opportunity to plug the publication. It's available at MI6 Confidential. It is mainly about the model work, but it is a true labour of love. It's absolutely fantastic production. Those people who've already looked at it, it is wonderful.
If you have enjoyed this episode, then please give it an MI6 stamp of approval and click on the notifications below. And why not subscribe to the channel? You don't want to miss out on any of the further missions. You can also find the Bond Room Unlocked on Facebook and on Instagram with even more content. But let's leave you now with Philip Blatchford. And don't forget, MI6 Confidential, Moonraker, science fiction or fact. Buy it now.